Namaskaram, and today we will be starting epigenetics, which once we kind of took it when we were doing quantum physics, but today and in this series, what we will see is something beyond. We will be reviewing, if you have heard the name Bruce Lipton, so that is one, you can say, master who's really who has done a lot of work in this field. And there are some other masters who have followed, who have continued. So we will be looking at some of the book that pertaining to epigenetics, and we'll go from different perspective, a little deep inside. So we will recap, and we will start with Bruce Lipton, and this is something that has really transformed the way we look at, you can say, the spirituality, meditation, our thoughts, when we say even quantum physics, when we are talking the starting point or whatever we are saying, these are all interconnected. So once we understand this, the biggest impact comes to anyone is understanding that we should not be worried about at least the genetics part, because sometimes we feel, oh, it's in the genes, it's in my family. So that thing goes away. And then how it will help us in understanding who we are, the true power. You know, when we say Aham Brahmasmi, we say we are part of the universe. We have all the powers. But the question comes, okay, how do you feel that power? How do you achieve that power? How do you, or what do you do in order to gain that power? Those are the questions. Belief is one thing, but unless you experience something on your own, that belief, and then what we say, trust, you develop this when, if possible, you taste the success yourself. Of course, if you see it with your very immediate family member, very close friend or family, yes, you may develop it too. But nothing is better than experiencing it yourself. And then by these topics, and this is not just one topic, but this is one of the very key factor in today's world, scientifically, to understand the true power or meaning of Aham Brahmasmi. Now, friends, these are the things that the saints or our masters knew thousands of years ago, what we are discovering now. So keep that in mind, that this is nothing new. Yes, may not be in the specific terms, may not be in the scientific jargons that we use today. But all this, in essence, was explained in different, whether Vedas or any kind of other documents that you know, or literature you read, not only in Indian society, but you find a lot of similarities when you look at, say, Egyptian or Chinese old civilization. When you look at, you know, the Aboriginal, even in North America, a lot of wisdom. So let's start with this journey of epigenetics. We will start by recapping something basic, and then we will continue in the following weeks deeper into those two. So epigenetics is what we will be looking into. Now, what is really epigenetics, or what do we mean by epigenetics? So the term actually was coined way back, right? In 1942, this term was, you can say, introduced. But the true meaning or true impact, its functioning, all those elements came way later, towards 1990. So between 1987 and 1992, Bruce Lipton, uh, he really gave the world this wisdom, because by experimenting, by working, he realized that it is not the cell, but the environment impacts the functioning of cell. So cell is not deciding by itself. The major difference comes from the environment. So now, a cell, which is the smallest unit in our body, and if we can understand how to influence cell, you are basically understanding how to influence tissues, organs, and any level that you see, systems, because if you know how a smallest unit is functioning, then we know collectively how, as a bigger system, the body functions. Now, as you can see in the graph, the real boost in terms of research did not come in 1987 or 1990s. It really started after, say, mid 2000, say 2003, 2006, that era, and then it really went parabolic. So what happened between, say, 2003, 2010, that time, that it kicked off really extreme. So one of the things which really made certain element of it extremely popular was the work of Dr. Randy. Duke University, he really gave the world another experiment, which this image, what you see here of that you see here, agouti mouse, and this mice, and the brown one is the normal one, but the yellowish one, the obese kind of looking compared to the brown one, is the one which has this agouti genes. So he was working on this, and what he realized, just by giving kale is green, right? Just vegetable, kale, nothing different, no fancy thing. But at a particular time of the pregnancy, this methyl donor from kale, basically, that's how the chemical thing internally takes place. And the impact was that the offspring that was produced was normal. And they were expecting, because the mother has agouti genes, the offspring will be agouti. And usually with this genes means the mice will be obese, yellowish fur, and very short lifespan. But to their surprise, it was a very normal mice, brown, long life, no obesity. So what changed? Just this kale, from kale, they got the methyl donor. So this experiment proved the impact, and that genes is, what genetics says, okay, it's in my genes, means it becomes your destiny. It is not. You may have the same genes as your parents, but does not mean you will have the same life as them. Why? Change the environment. You can change your destiny. And this image, what you see from this experiment, is the most referenced image in terms of different journals, different literature around the world. Because obviously when something is published, people use and refer to different experiment, different studies. So this image has been used so many times. So this explains the popularity of this topic of epigenetics during that era. 2003, 2010, you see how exponentially the number of papers on this topic increased. So it brought again into limelight that what you eat impacts your genes, your thoughts impacts your genes, your lifestyle impacts your genes. So it is not that, oh, I have this gene, that's my destiny. No. Number one, we have seen this in the sessions that we had on what really impacts your health. Number one, thoughts. Number two, lifestyle. And then comes what you eat. So these three things, which in a way is in your hand. That means your destiny is in your hand. That means, let's go back, Aham Brahmasmi. You have the superpower. If your destiny is in your hand, means you have superpower. What else any character do? It can do anything. So, well, if you can do anything just by your thoughts, your lifestyle, and let's add, based on what you eat, you have all the ingredients to be a superhuman. And that's all it matters. So once you understand how you can use this wisdom, this knowledge to make your life better, you qualify to be a super person, superhuman. And that's one way of reaching the statement when we say Aham Brahmasmi. It's not just words. But question comes, okay, how to reach? This is one way of reaching there. There are different elements, different things. It's not just this and that's it, but this is a big step. However, very simple. Everything is in your hand. Your thoughts in your hand. Lifestyle is in your hand. And of course, what you eat is in your control. So there is no reason to complain. No reason to say, oh my God, my luck, my destiny, my this and that. No, everything is in your hand. Doesn't matter where you are today. Doesn't matter which situation, mentally, emotionally, physically, you may be in today. Future is in your hand. Okay, you cannot change the history, but future is in your hand. And this topic will help you understand one element of it, that how simply, easily you can achieve it. So, epigenetics, what it means, it's the study of expression of genes. That means your DNA, we keep hearing this word DNA. My DNA is locked. My DNA is, in simple words, the double helix figure. If you have seen that image, very popular during any science class, you will understand. Simply, DNA has all kinds of genes, right? You're talking about over 20,000 genes. Are they functioning all the time? No. Some are in a, you can say simply, on state, some are off state. On state means they're active, off state means they're not active. If they're dormant, you'll have a different result than if they are active. So why it's important to understand how we can, if possible, control the expression of a gene on and off. Because if we can understand what is causing you trouble, whether disease, physical, emotional, or whatever way it is, by understanding, so from the study of epigenetics, we can find ways to prevent it. So we talked about cell, smallest unit. It has a nucleus. Though it is the smallest unit, it has a nucleus. And inside the nucleus, you have 23 pair of chromosomes. So you can imagine how smaller we are going now. Already the smallest unit has a nucleus. That means there is something more. So its nucleus must be very small. That small nucleus has 23 pair of chromosomes. And each pair of chromosome, you have tightly packed DNA. See the beauty of nature. This is what carries information from generation to generation. And if I may, not only generation to generation, but even your karmic record, from previous, your own birth, all this energy or information is carried. So you imagine the complexity of our body. Now, genes, they are segmented, and that's what it is called DNA in simple terms. Without getting into the chemical and the full name of it, just take it as DNA. And this is carrying the information. This is like a recipe book. You may have in your kitchen a recipe book that may have, say, 1,000 different recipes. So up to you. You can say, hey, I have available recipe for 1,000 different items. Today, I want to make item number 55. Okay, you make 55. You may say, no, tomorrow I'll make item number 75. Make 75. Similarly, your DNA has over 20,000 genes. Now, 20,000 genes does not mean all are active, but you may turn them on and off, and we'll see how and all details. But just take it simply that, yes, you have the power of turning on and off. So it's up to you. You can get away from trouble, but if your thoughts alone can make you healthy, your thoughts alone can make you sick also. So if you're always negative, overthinking and all that, well, then we are inviting some discomfort in our life. And that's how in the background it's working. That's where the epigenetics comes in. So just by thought alone, we are capable of changing the expression of gene. Why we are talking about gene and expression of gene? What is expression of gene? Expression of gene, consider like we talked about recipe book, right? So what happens when you say, okay, I'll use this recipe and prepare something. So what are you preparing? Food. Something to eat from that recipe book. Doesn't matter if you are making something for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, doesn't matter, but something to eat. You have a recipe, you're making it. So what does gene do when they are turning on and off? They are producing different kinds of proteins. Now, why we need protein? Our body is nothing but protein making machine. Why? We are made up of protein. The whole structure, the body, the functioning, everything is dependent on protein, different types, different kind. So one gene can produce about 3,000 variation of proteins. Imagine one gene, about 3,000. And if you have over 20,000 genes, you can imagine how many variety of proteins you can make. So when people say, oh, I have the gene and, it's in my genetics, what can I do? I have this disease. Well, not really. Not really, because roughly 1% issues are truly genetics. It's coming from your genes. But 99%, 98%, okay, even if you take some more of it, is in your hand. The thoughts, lifestyle, food. So how is working? So genetics is just looking the expression of the genetic code. You can have there are tests for different genes, and they will decode the DNA and the big numbers and all kind of alphanumerical and all kind of thing, and like it looks totally unrelated, or you may not understand unless you are from that field. But epigenetics is the study that, okay, whatever the gene is, how can we influence? How can we change the end result, which is the protein? Because it is the environment that is signaling the gene. So that means gene is important, but what's more important is the environment that is signaling the gene on and off. So different proteins are required. Why? It depends. You want to make a cell for your skin, a different gene has to be activated. You want a protein for your cell for your eyes, for your hair, for your lungs, for your heart, depending on the location. Stomach, intestine, it's different. So environment, a lot of factors comes. Sometimes, you take some medicine, sometimes you feel that, oh, I took that shot and then this thing happened. I took this medicine and as a side effect, this thing happened. Part of environment. During early developmental stage, before the baby is born, or right after that, aging effect, your diet, of course, we talked about a lot of factors which will impact what you get. Now, people think that, oh, protein means non-vegetarian diet. It's a myth. In fact, in vegetarian diet, you get more than what you need. The amount of protein, types, and all kind of, you can say, supplements that you are looking for. It's a perfect, in fact, much, much better than non-vegetarian diet. Much better. You'll be much healthier. And of course, that's a separate topic in itself. At this stage, this is what now science has already shown. Of course, there is a big industry, so they can't let the, non-vegetarian diet part go like that. But if you really dig deep, you will see the big difference between vegetarians and non-vegetarian. So a lot of research has found how the genetics is impacted, various aspects, because it is coming from generation to generation. It's not something just happened. How the vegetarian people, they are, efficiently process certain things, whether it's omega acid, whether it is all, because generally sometimes people say, oh, B12, you're vegetarian, okay, you won't get it. Or this supplement, that supplement you eat and you get because you don't get. Well, there are two different things. Whether your body can absorb the nutrients from the food or not, that's a separate issue. But it's not a question of vegetarian diet does not provide you this, that, and the other. Now, different experiments were done, because again, the question comes in today's world, we want to know the proof. We want to know, show me the science behind it. Now, we were talking about our Vedas and all those, our saints and sages who knew thousands of years ago what we are discovering now. At that time, nobody asked, show me the science, show me the DNA or proof. No. They may have expressed it differently, but now we know that it's the same thing. So 32 people were selected. The genes, proteins were tested. Roughly 7,500 different gene expressions were observed. Now, all they had to do was bring elevated emotion and change your inner state. An end result, they wanted to see whether you can change the gene ahead of the environment or not. So only for 4 days, they said, okay, 32 people, they tested before and after, so 7,500 gene expressions, and they said, okay, you will be doing meditation, bring elevated emotion. And this is the power of when you feel it, when you take your affirmation in your subconscious mind, you say, feel it. The body cannot differentiate whether you are just imagining it or it's really happening. So when you bring elevated emotion, very high positive energy. So within 4 days, they could observe that a lot of genes were either activated or upregulated. Upregulated means, you go from good to, better or best, or, you improve. And what kind of genes were they? Anti-aging. Who doesn't want, to get that kind of effect? Healing, fixing autoimmune diseases, cell repair, different things, whether it's related to metabolic issues, whether it is some tumor, all kind of, wonderful results they saw, combining this meditation and elevated emotion, and then working on changing their inner self. Another experiment was done for 60 days in Palm Springs, 2017, not too long ago. And they were told, okay, do some kind of meditation, whatever, self-regulate, and change the inner state. And they measured telomeres. Telomeres, they are at the end of the DNA. With every division of the cell, it's reducing. So your life is depending on how many times the cell can divide, and yet you have some telomere left. When you reach minimum of it, that's the end of your life. So imagine if you can elongate that, means you're extending your life. So 20 out of 27% means 74% people were able to extend telomeres. One woman in 2 years fixed the genetic disorder. Why is important? So we are not talking everything happens in 4 days, everything happens in 1 month or 1 year. Sometimes it takes more. But that's okay. All you have to do is continue on your path. You're talking of genetic disorder means something that has taken a long time. So obviously the fix will also require some effort. But it was done by thoughts alone. What kind of thoughts? Elevated emotions. Because there are certain things which comes again and again in our lives. Lack of, you can say self-esteem, self-love, putting yourself down, all these things, very common. Fear, different kind of fears, different kind of, what you say, like the typical human elements, what we say, kama, krodha, moha, maya. So all this, the greed and typical human element for which the soul comes to experience, we get stuck with. UFT, University of Toronto, had a research, and they were trying to find out why. Working at the same organization, same workplace, same company, same environment, certain people get impact and they get health issues, but others not. And what they found was sometimes it could be the mutation, or you can say the existing condition in the body. Because there are about 3 billion DNAs, different letters, it's made up of the whole human genome, out of which 3 millions could be different between two people. Numbers are big, 3 billion, 3 million. But this variation really creates the beauty of life. No two persons are identical. Why? Because of this difference. They may look different, they may speak different, they may have different height, different weight, different. There will be some difference. So there is this impact of mutation, and one mutation can impact the other. That means the precondition can impact whether the certain environmental factor will affect you or will not affect you, or will affect you in a different way. And when two people are different with this kind of variation, same environment can impact different people differently. So it's not a copy-paste scenario. So sometimes when we say, oh, I took this, whether medicine, some course, some treatment, and this thing happened to me. Not necessarily everyone will have the same impact in the similar way. So really, if we see epigenetics, what are we talking? As an introduction, we say first, genes don't create disease. Environment impacts. It is impacting the genes. And if we understand that how we can influence the environment, our thoughts, our emotion, key factor of signaling our genes, you can create your own future. And that's what Aham Brahmasmi means. If the signal is proper, genes get upregulated. They create proper protein. But when signal is not proper, there is some, error, mistake, damage in this whole chain of command, you may get mutated genes. When you get mutation in your genes, now you may have Depending on type of mutation, type of situation, you may have certain issues, health-wise or otherwise. Now, 2,200 out of 23,000 genes, roughly, you can say about 10%, are already proved by science that you can influence by meditation. Now, that does not mean only 2,200 means only 10% can. These are proven. And as the time goes, this list will keep on increasing. So you can imagine if somebody comes and say, oh, I have this, it's in my family. The first thing you have to say, don't worry, you can change. You may not have the same result, same destiny, same end kind of situation what your family members had before you. If you change the environment, if you change the way you think, if you change the lifestyle. But if you keep the same lifestyle as your parents, grandparents, well, in that case, you may have a similar impact, and then you will say, oh, it's in my genes. But it's in our hand. We can extend our life, elongating the telomeres. You can upregulate your genes. That means you are the master of your destiny. First step is understanding this topic. Second step is trying it out, experiment with it. The moment you have success, now we are talking, now you have trust, now you have faith, and now you're really taking off and you are creating your destiny. So masters, this was the first session. Next many weeks we will continue. We'll keep looking different element. But if you have any question about today's session or in general epigenetics, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. If you want to share any, your own experience, please feel free to do so before we go to the meditation, because it really helps everyone else as well.
Yeah, so please raise your hand and we can unmute yourself and you can ask your question or you can share your experience, please. Yeah, Lakshmi ma'am, you are unmuted.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav sir. Thank you. This is to share. This very important part, because most concrete understanding is being, aware or made aware by most of the practitioner around the genetics, basically. Anything we come up, we keep on saying it is genetically oriented. But thank you, Gaurav sir, that really just 1 to 2%, wherein every disease is just linked up to genetic only by 1 to 2%. Every book, actually, every medical book mentions about, risk factors, predisposing factors for any disease for that matter. So to just give an example, practically, if I have to, if you see a chain smoker, right? A chain smoker, not all chain smokers will have, disease at the end. This is to just understand why this predisposing factors or environmental factors or factors around it are also more major factors. So not every chain smoker will have a cancer, lung cancer, and not all, lung cancer are having, chain smoking habit. This is how it contradicts. So somewhere there is something which is gap, which is nothing but these are the predisposing factors or risk factors. So all in all, if I have to put with a little example practically is, you have a mango seed. If Gaurav sir gives me a land, and if Gaurav sir has his own land, and if he is putting all manure required things, good sunlight, water, nutrient to the mango, definitely his mango tree is going to grow it very better. Although the same seed is with me, and if I am not having a light, good source of light, what we expect, it doesn't grow. This is very basic, probably the science experiment we must have done in the childhood days. If you block a sunlight, definitely a tree will not grow. But if you have a source of light that, in fact, even the tree branches will start turning towards that. What it is depicting is genetically the same seeds are there. It is going to be a mango tree, definitely. Gaurav is also going to have, and myself is going to have the same seed. Genetically, they are same, or here and there a little bit different. But yeah, why that survived and why this is something which is an environment which is going to be majorly different. And that all environmental factors is nothing but what just now sir told, so many things like, lifestyle, thought process. Thank you. Your heating habits. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Gaurav.
Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Thank you very much for sharing your beautiful thoughts and very simple, very good example. So thank you.
I don't know. Gaurav sir, nowadays actually your favorite student is not asking so many questions.
Well, they are already have so much wisdom because you are doing it every day, different topics, different this, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Srini sir. I know this is one of your favorite topics, epigenetics. He talks a lot.
Okay.
Okay, if no one does not have any questions or anything, then we can actually go ahead and start the meditation now. Explaining epigenetics and letting that our destiny is in our hands. Yep. Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's get going for our meditation. And so, masters, as usual, we'll relax our body. And before we do meditation, we will start with 7 deep breathing. That means the cycles of slow breathing, or if you know Anulom Vilom, you can do that as well without a pause. Just exhale, inhale, and keep switching between left and right nostril. Those who are not familiar with it, just simply do slow inhale and slow exhale. So we'll do 7 cycles. This slow breathing will bring balance between your left and the right side of the body and slow down your brain waves, which will help you in getting into meditation. So just relaxing the body. Slow exhale as comfortable to you. And slow inhale. We'll do the 7 cycles. masters. After completing your 7 cycles, start breathing normally. Now, let's relax the body. So relax your face and keep maintaining a gentle smile on your face, which will relax your vagus nerve. Relax your neck, your shoulders. Keep your back straight, but very relaxed. And relax your hands and legs. Now, before we get into deep meditation, let's bring our affirmation in our subconscious mind. For 1 minute, feel the emotions which you would experience once your affirmation is complete. So imagine that your affirmation is already complete. So feel the feeling, the emotions of joy, gratitude, blissfulness, whatever is pertaining to your affirmation for next 1 minute. Now, we'll start observing our breath. This point onwards, we will not feel anything, no emotion, no thoughts. Just observe your breath. And if you get stuck with a thought, gently leave and start observing your breath again. Don't fight with the thought and don't blame yourself. It's okay. Keep observing your breath. Stay with your breath. When you stay, your energy, inhale lots of cosmic energy with every breath, and with every exhale, you let go a lot of toxins out of your body. So every inhale and exhale is very critical. With every inhale and exhale, we stay connected with our inner self, with our soul, with who we are, looking inward. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of our body. What matters is what's happening inside our body. Dear Masters, let's rub our palms together and place the fingers on your eyes for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Slowly, very slowly open your eyes and come to your normal self.